So a number of states already have voter ID laws or are trying to implement voter ID laws, which means that when you show up to the polls, you'll have to show a picture ID that says, yes, this is who I am, before you can get your ballot. And the reason for that is the opportunity for voter fraud. I could walk up there and give a false name, and as long as that person is registered, I could vote on their behalf, and the elections officials would be none the wiser. So voter IDs are a method of combating that. The problem is that African Americans, the poor, old, elderly people, are much less likely to have a state voter identification than other people, which means if they don't have that ahead of time or can't get it, then they will be unable to vote. Also, there are some questions about how widespread in-person voter fraud is, and there are very, very few cases of that. The voter fraud, to the extent that it does occur, is much more likely to occur in absentee ballot, because you don't have to show an ID when you send in your ballot over the mail. And so voter fraud is far more likely in that regard as well. A number of states have had their laws at least stopped temporarily because there isn't enough time for people to get the proper identification. Often that takes weeks or months to have people's identities be validated, get those printed off and sent to folks as well. So the Supreme Court is willing to let it go through as long as it doesn't have the practical outcome of disenfranchising certain voters. And that's the difficulty, and it's something that is a concern. But as long as states do it well and make it available and make it not insurmountable for an older person to go and get a photo ID, then there is perhaps some merit to that. Though I would argue as well that if someone is so gung-ho that they're going to vote in person for someone else, they could probably get a fake ID in that person's name and still commit fraud. So it's not foolproof. But it is one of the methods that a lot of states are pushing to try to make sure that the voting process is not tainted by fraud.